NBC just screwed themselves with what was caught on Congress attack broadcast they didn't know was showing. NBC misfired when they brought a gun expert to talk about the congressional baseball shooting. I'm not sure what they consider an expert, but any 8-year-old with video game experience would have been smarter than the person they talked to. NBC's expert strongly called the baseball shooter's gun an automatic weapon. If you know the difference between automatic and semi-automatic, and you saw the baseball shooter video, then you know the NBC expert has no clue what they're talking about. A shooter can hold the trigger in on an automatic weapon and it will rapid fire bullets faster than you can count to potato. Automatic weapons sound like a Spanish person rolling their tongue when they're cold. A semi-automatic weapon requires a trigger pull for each shot, but does not require you to reload or cock a hammer in between shots. Semi-automatic weapons sound like a handful of pops, in no particular pattern, and not in rapid fire unless the shooter has a quick trigger finger. It would sound more like this: pop, 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 pop. Let's watch the baseball shooter video and determine what kind of gun this is. Did you hear several pops, or did it sound like a pattern of rapid fire shots? You heard pops, which indicates this weapon is a semi-automatic gun. It is certainly not a rapid-fire automatic weapon. NBC brought on a former U.S. Secret Service agent who claims to be an expert on guns. But this expert ended up having to apologize for completely muffing her claims about the liberal shooter's firearms with an incorrect description that fits the liberal narrative. Was this a real U.S. Secret Service agent, or was it more like the fake dentist in a corny commercial? I feel as though a Secret Service agent would be an expert in weaponry, considering these folks walk around with a miniature arsenal at their disposal, often wearing weapons on the person at any given time. If it was an innocent mistake, then that's fine. Admit the mistake and move on. No big deal, and everyone messes up sometimes. NBC News featured former Secret Service agent Evie Pompors to ask her expert opinion about the Virginia shooting. But her garbled and incorrect blather about the guns used by Bernie Sanders activist James T. Hodgkinson to shoot down Republican Representative Steve Scalise and 3 others ended up putting egg on her and NBC's collective face. As this so-called expert started out, Pompors did correctly identify the rifle used by the hate-filled liberal activist. Okay, so what's the big deal then? They correctly identify the rifle, what else do you want from her? Give the girl a break. She did something that many of us could not. If you asked me what kind of rifle it was, then I would say one that shoots pew-pew. From what we understand and from what we see in a lot of these scenarios, and we see with this scenario, is he had a rifle semi-automatic, is what we're hearing. But later in the discussion her expertise broke down when she was asked how the shooter could get up to 50 shots off. It depends on the weapon. But there is a point where we are listening to some of the interviews with representatives. One of them said that there was a pause, a moment, and he was able to leave where he was exposed and able to run away. And that might have been a reload. How can you get 50 shots off? It's easy. Hide in a spot where no one sees you and keep shooting. It's not that hard, folks. There are people who have fast trigger fingers and the count of the shots is just a guesstimate anyway. The only way to get a more accurate number count on the amount of bullets fired is to replay the video and manually count the shots. May as well ask the shooter himself how many times he pulled the trigger. Oh, that's right. Can't ask him. He's a goner. Is NBC doomed? Not at all. This is a silly mistake and I'm certain this is already old news. I wouldn't want NBC to choose the gun expert ever again, that's for sure. Here's the reporter posting her explanation and slight apology for her verbiage mix-up. It's all good. Simple mistake.